Hey gang, welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. Today's video is part 7 in the Cobra Jet series. In the previous video, I showed you more disassembly stuff, taking out the firewall, that sort of thing. Also, I have prepped the shock towers to get media blasted, and so those are being taken care of. In the meantime, there's other things that I need to do. So I plan to start taking apart these new pieces so that I can remove the shock towers and the aprons, and then when I get the other parts that are getting cleaned up, get those back, then I can do a mock-up and test fit and make sure everything's going to line up and fit properly. So the plan is to drill out the spot welds. Now I have a lot of people who follow along and they notice I typically don't use a spot weld cutter or a spot face tool. I don't. I am more comfortable using a standard drill bit. And what I normally do is I drill into the hole. I'm using like a 1/4 inch bit, and I just drill enough to try to remove the center part of that spot weld. And if I'm going all the way through, it's not a big deal. I can just drill through and be done with it. From there, I'll step up with a little step-up drill bit you can get from Harbor Freight. But otherwise, if I want to save the panels and try to keep things intact, I will maybe start with that 1/4 inch, wobble around with it and see if I can weaken the weld, or I may even step up to something like a 1/2 inch, maybe, depending on the weld, and just touch it. Just kind of, once I have that pilot location where I want it, just come in and just give it a little bit of a hit, maybe even 3/8, somewhere in that range, you know, that it'll weaken that, again, the edge of the weld. So, and then be able to get behind it with my panel separating tool, you know, tap it gently, try to get it to break loose. And if all goes well, it comes apart, you don't damage much of anything. I'm going to get started on this and let's see how far I can get. So as I said, what I want to do is take all of this loose, and I don't really want to remove this one, but if I have to, I have to. And again, I'm going to start with this about a 1/4 inch drill bit. I don't know the specific size, might be 7/32 or something like that. But all I want to do is drill part way into these. That was the drill bit slipping into the drill. But you can kind of, I mean, you probably can't see it very well on the camera, but I'm seeing the other piece of metal by doing that. Now also keep in mind, these spot welds are not as big as the factory spot welds on the same panel. These are going to have a much, well, I say a smaller diameter overall. So here's an observation. If you look at this rail, hopefully you can see this, and where the floor pan would sit. This, it mostly lines up, but if you look straight across this angle, and again, I can't tell if I'm looking at what I need to, but you look across this, and this actually sits back or up slightly from this one. So the intent may have been this was supposed to be forward just a little, but it also could mean that they just didn't cut this to the length that it should be, or the angle that it should be. There's one there, it's like right on the edge, I think. Maybe. I'm not going to drill that one though. Now sometimes what you can do is take a slightly larger bit. I don't even know what this size is. I don't know. I can't read it. Something 30 seconds. Pretty good size. And you could come on top and just do this kind of the same thing. Because the tip on this is wider, it's going to take off more of the outer side of that. And again, I'm not trying to take too much of it off. Okay, that'll come apart. Pop, pop, pop. Yeah, just the bottom edge of that one's trying to hang on. So that's those. Yep, there's an extra little weld there I didn't see. You know, they make another one of these that has a 90-degree angle on it. That's what that is made for. I need one of those. There it goes. See how nice those are popping apart? I mean, I'm really not distorting this much at all. There you go. Just like that. Now, this should give everybody some perspective. And again, it's not that critical. However, you can see where there's bare metal on these. Now, are you going to take this all back apart to use that and fix that? No. But that's why it's important to make sure your primers, your undercoating, your sealant is all in the right space or right place to keep moisture out. But imagine these cars when they were, you know, new, they didn't hardly, there was like nothing in here. They just sprayed undercoating on raw metal. So, yep, that's still usable. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm probably going to have to take this one off, this other front one here. Because it's going to be very difficult to work this out of this, I think. At least it should be. So, keep moving. Okay, let's continue on and see what else I can destroy. I may have to just use a bigger bit on that one. Now see, they got two on that, which I don't like. I like having one. Oh, that's thin. Not too worried about it. This is coming off. Didn't expect it to go through though. Same thing there, went right through it. Now there's a little bit of weld down at that edge, which I'd rather not have it on an edge. Yeah, these welds are a little bit mushy, let's say. Yep, there's a weld right there. One up here. That broke loose. That broke. Good, good, good. That one popped, I think. Yep, there it went. Okay. There it went. Nice. Okay. I know I'm blocking this. Sorry. Not much I can do about it. Look at that. Popped right up. So did that one. No, I can't say. Oh, there's one weld right there. I didn't see. Okay. Now I see these spot welds. I'll bet you those go all the way into this frame rail. It would make sense that they do that. Otherwise, these welds, well, that's going around that perimeter, but these are a little bit deeper. I'm just going to drill those anyway. Let's do that first layer. I'm still saying that that's probably a legit weld there. That all popped. Yep, there we go. Oh, I got these two up here. That's what I'm fighting with. There we go. So I can actually see light. Where that one was. Yeah, that's what's holding on to that last one. Yep, there's a weld in the middle. Well, good for them. Haha. Okay, something's hanging on. Ah, there we go. Yay! It's out. It's out. Look at that. Didn't even mess it up. Good deal. Good deal. Grind off those few little welds. We're set. All right, here's where we're at. I got back the pieces from my buddy. He blasted the firewall, the air boxes, both shock towers, and the core support. And everything looks pretty good. I did just kind of test fit this piece on the driver's side. I wanted to see how things interacted, and it looks like it's going to work out just fine. There's still a little bit of adjusting that needs to happen, and I haven't even ground down any of the high metal yet on that side, so it's just kind of sitting in there. This side, I did grind down the metal, any high welds or anything that were still in the way. I did notice that in putting this together, and this again at this point, that the spot welds in the apron, the front section, they line up pretty close to where they were. The rear, it's not so much, and part of that is because of the holes that line up where the bolts go in that that cover that goes around the spring. So again, there's a little more adjusting that needs to go on there. Firewall, we already know, the bottom half of it is no good. Hopefully I can make all this work out, work together the way it should. The shock towers, I did point out that the this one, what would be the passenger side, had some pitting in it, and it seems like that's cleaned up okay. I will weld these up and grind that back down to try to make everything smooth out. There are some battle scars here from a previous engine change or something, so I may try to clean that up as well. The apron, I already knew the upper half was no good, and as you can see here, there are the numbers that are stamped into these things. You can also see some of these other stampings. That's kind of where it was held in a press when they were doing things. And along with that, I want to point out the thickness of the reinforcements. So what I've come up with is about 175 thousandths on this thickness on these pieces. And because I have this damage here from where somebody had cut it, I'm going to replace that with this piece, and that's the same. It's the same thickness. So that's a piece of steel that I had. So I would just make a plug. I'll clean that up, but make a plug and put in there, and then make one for the inside of the shock tower as well. Let's see. Oh, these air boxes. Now, these air boxes, one thing we're looking at is these numbers here, because those are the original stamping numbers. But I will say these boxes are really good reproductions. They look like they have the same shape. Everything matches up really nice. The dimple here, this recess down here. One thing I was a little concerned with, and I'll see if I can measure this with the caliper, is the thickness. So in this case, this piece is measuring right around 50 thousandths thick. And if I pick a flange that I can access on this one's actually thinner. This metal is 35 thousandths. And there it's actually getting a 30. Now, of course, this is after blasting, but blasting isn't going to change that much. Get a look up here. That's a 30. And I can do the same on this one. Now that says 40. Yeah, that says 40 there. So I don't know why it would read a little thicker on that one edge, but I can feel by the weight of it that it is thicker for sure. Okay, I can get it down to 45 there. So we're going to have a talk about that. We're probably going to end up taking the bottom half of this one, cut it off, and put it on this one just to keep that piece intact as much as possible. The core support I'm a little more concerned with. I knew it was pretty rough on this side where the battery was, and this shows up even more. All this is thin or rusted through, and it's heavily pitted all the way around, all the way down into here. This inside is pitted pretty deep, and it's not something you really want to weld on to try to rebuild that, because it'll distort the metal a lot. Top edge, not too bad there. Come across and there's heavy pitting up on this top section. This side is the good side, but it even has an area there where it's rusted through. Little concerned about the core support. I do have this other core support that I bought for my own purposes, and I don't know what if we're gonna try to use that or if we're going to use part of it. I don't know yet. We'll have to talk about that as we move forward. So for now, I'm going to continue cleaning up this frame rail and test fitting, mocking. Nothing's going to get welded until I have everything connected and make sure it all looks good. So at this point, there's a few things I want to address. I want to clean up any of those weld edges or spot welds that were on there. If you'll notice, you can see this line right here, and that shows how that panel sat against this one. So it looks like it inclined up, and even the spot welds in this case went to the higher side of that, where that one looks like it's more consistent and straight across. Just a observation on, when they assembled this stuff. Now, if you remember on this one, the piece that was on here only had one spot weld, and the new ones or the old ones over there have two spot welds. So I want to make sure I have enough area cleared off for the next contact. What's funny is there's buildup from these spot welds, which were hidden behind the tower, that I can catch my glove on. Just enough to be a nuisance. Now the other thing I want to do is clean up any of these holes that I had drilled, because being that it was a drill bit and it didn't go through, it has a taper. So I want to clean up that taper. The idea being when it comes time to weld, I don't want to have anything interfering with the weld. Now the other thing that needs to happen is we have to straighten out any bends in the in this contact area, because when it fits in there, it's got to be nice and tight. So I'm going to use my handy dandy bar and this tool, this hammer, which is for doing seams on door panels. What that allows me to do is come in and catch this little bit of high spot. And knock it in. Much better. Much. So one thing I noticed, this corner down here was making contact with the inside of that frame rail. So just some minor adjustments that need to happen. See there, that's sticking up. So all that should be on the same plane. Now the other thing that's going to happen, or going to have to happen, is some of this is going to get rebuilt down here. I'll cut this off, weld in a new piece, could have straightened that out. And of course at the top, this area here is rusted through, so I'm going to have to do some patchwork to reshape that, and over here rebuild this corner. This area here I may end up just welding because I want to keep that edge and just kind of weld that back together and reshape it. I think this is going to be solid underneath. It just has this back edge here, which was enough to give it some, you know, some rust. And there, as you can see, the inside of this tower. And of course this one they burned all the way through, and I'm gonna have to knock off this, what's left of this loose metal here, so I can make my filler pieces. This will be a little trickier since it's got such a weird shape, but I'll make a cardboard template for that. All right, so I want to start with this side. This is the passenger side, and what we're dealing with is this hole, which is just horrible. You know, trying to make a patch for that would be very, very difficult. So what I'm going to use in this case is just this handle, because I need a round reference. Doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to cut it this big, but I am going to cut a new hole. And so if I have something that I can use as a round reference, then I'm not just kind of guessing at it. Okay, so at this point what I can do is come inside of that and just kind of follow it around to create a round hole. Then I can make a plug that is more consistent to that shape, because this is just really bad. And of course the inside is probably worse in effect. When you look at that, you can see, hopefully see, that that's just all chopped up. So gotta fix it. Get out the handy dandy Welder plasma cutter. I've used this many times. If you are looking at getting a plasma cutter, I usually post links in my description below, so you can get a discount through Welder. But this has been a pretty good little machine. Can't complain about it, honestly. Always make sure that your ground is connected to the machine. Otherwise, you'll be fighting with it. Okay. Woo! Got these sparks there. You know, ideally if they had done this, I know it's not a good idea, but if they had cut this as a nice hole to use for doing grease service, it wouldn't be that bad. You know, if you welded that all together, you now have a hole that is just as solid. That hole, that, you know, you talk about the dimensions of the plate and everything. Having a hole with the perimeter welded, it's not going to crack. It's not going to open up and cause any problems. So on the back side here, you can see how jagged the edges are. And I don't want to cut out that far with the new piece that I'm putting in. Okay, that's much better. Now what I want to do, take a small piece of cardboard or something. Perfect. I'm going to make this circle bigger. You never try to cut it to size. While I'm thinking about it, let's say we index that. Right? So there is the rough template. Anytime I go to a scrap metal place, I look for stuff like this, just to have it. Okay. Now we end up with a nice ugly hole on the end of your plate. Okay. So I need to weld this in, and I'm going to use the Welder MP200. I've said it before, I really like this machine. You can program it, you can change a bunch of parameters in here, hit this button, it gives you your choice of gas. You can change your gas settings, come back up, turn the knob, it tells you what you're welding, steel or stainless steel. And in this case I'm using 30 thousandths wire. That's talking about your wire, by the way. Not your what material you're welding, but your spool. See that little picture there? Okay. Whoops. Over here, 2-touch or 4-touch. I always use 2-touch, and the gauge thickness out. I like this because it gives you specific dimensions. So there's 10 gauge, 3/16, quarter, 5/16, all the way up to 1/2 inch. So I am not at a quarter. I'm going to go with 3/16 for my metal thickness, and then there's other parameters you can set burn back and also have a memory. So along with this, you can fine tune this if you want. Once that changes, you can turn this dial and it'll increase your voltage or decrease your voltage, whatever you feel like you want to run with. I think it was at 15.6. And yeah, this one you can also change some parameters as well as far as amperage. And when you change one, it changes the other. You can see that. So I'm going to go back to where this was, set it back to 3/16, and I'm set. Now I can start welding. Now, of course, I'm not going to put the GoPro on my welding helmet to make this happen, so I'm just going to kind of zoom in a little bit here, and hopefully you can get the idea of what I'm trying to do. I'll probably put a couple tack welds and then try to burn in any of the thick parts, and then come back and do the other side, burn that in nice and solid, and I'm confident this isn't going anywhere. To me, it's critical that I get this as flush as possible. So if it's set too deep, it's not going to look right when I blend it. There we go. I do want to check this on the inside. So you can see there's a little bit of an edge, so I will burn that in as well, and that'll take care of the outside portion of that, other than the blending, of course. Okay. Again, that's not going anywhere. Now I'll blend that down, sand this down, and make a filler piece to go inside of there, weld that in, blend it as well, and that'll be solid again. I would normally wear this. This thing is fantastic for blocking junk from flying at you, but I can't do it with the GoPro. If you like this, I have that listed on Amazon. Now when you're doing something like this and you find a little low spot or, you know, hole, don't be afraid to add more weld. You don't want to have anything start like a rust point. So just a few of those. Okay. I think I can live with that. Okay, I'm going to put a stop to this video. I have filmed way too much stuff. I have all kinds of footage from the GoPro, footage from this camera, and I realize now that if I put all of that in this one video, it's going to be probably 2 hours long. I want to share as many details with you as I can, but I don't want to lose your interest in this process. So I'm going to stop this with the repair that I did on the cutout on the shock tower, but there will be more to the repairs, and that will involve patching up the top section where it had rusted off, the bottom section where it was damaged, and of course some other stuff that I'm going to incorporate to make sure everything lines up. So that'll be in the next video. As it is, I want to thank my patrons for supporting me in all of these videos. I appreciate you so much, and I want to thank you for watching. If you would, leave a thumbs up and a comment. Let me know what you think about this video. And if you're interested in any of the products that I demonstrate on these videos, there will be links in the description below. But as it is, until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.